am going to show you how to make a beaded bead. These are the beaded beads, and then I'm going to show you how to turn it into a set of earrings and a bracelet. Cute little set. And of course you can always make a necklace out of this pattern too. I just happened to have run out of my better colored pearls, so I didn't make a necklace, but I will be making one as soon as I get some more of this color pearl in. This is my favorite color. I always use it all up first. But anyway, this is what we're going to make. This is what the beaded bead looks like. Of course, you can use these beaded beads for anything you would like. You do not have to make the set I made. You can use them for any type of pattern you have that you want to use a beaded bead in. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll look at the material list and then we'll make a bead. Okay, for this project today, we will be doing some stringing and some stitching. If you're going to make the bracelet the way I'm going to make it, then you will need some extra supplies. If you're going to make the earrings, you will also need some extra things for the earrings. If you're just going to make the beaded bead, all you will need is your Nanofil and your beads and the size 10 beading needle. Otherwise, what we're going to do for beads is I'm going to use some 6mm round glass pearls. This is a purple color, 6mm round. And then you will need a 4mm round glass pearl. Mine is a better tone. And then some 4mm bicone crystals. This is a Swarovski and it's a violet color. And then you will need some 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads. These are both Toho. My 8/0 is a metallic violet and galvanized. And then my 11/0 is the Montana Gold transparent Toho. And you will also need, if you're going to do your earrings, of course, 2 ear wires. If you're going to do the bracelet, you will need a toggle clasp, or you can use whatever clasp you would like. You will need 2 head pins if you're going to do the earrings. So I'm just using this gold tone head pin. You will also need some size number 2 crimp beads if you are going to be doing the necklace, or you can use whatever crimp bead you have on hand. I'm going to use a Beaded size 2. You will need some beading wire if you are going to make your bracelet the way I'm going to make it. And you will need, I'm using the 7 Beaded so it's 7 strands. It's a medium size, a medium to finer size. So you can use whatever beading wire you would like. You can use tiger's tail, you can use soft flex, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's a medium to fine diameter. And my diameter, as you can see, is 0.018 inch or 0.46 millimeters. And some Nanofil. I'm going to use size 10. You can use 8-pound Nanofil, or you can use 6 or 8-pound Fireline. If you're going to make the bracelet, you'll need some crimping pliers. And if you're going to make the earrings, you'll need some round nose pliers, you'll need some wire cutters, and you'll also need a pair of flat nose pliers. Let's go ahead and string onto our needle. We'll make each of our beaded beads first, and we will tie them off. So you will need for each beaded bead about an arm's length. So I would stretch out one of your arms from your fingertip to about your collarbone. Go ahead and measure your thread and cut it off that length. And then thread it onto your size 10 beading needle, and we'll get started. To start this project, you are going to pick up onto your needle 5 of your 4mm round glass pearls, or whatever you're using that's 4mm round. Pick up 5 of them and just put them on your needle, like so. Let's get in a little closer, and then bring this to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to hold on to. And then you're going to go back through the first bead that you put on your thread with your needle. So just go ahead and go back through that very first bead and pull your tail, pull your working thread until you have a circle of beads that looks like this. And then sew back through your circle of beads, because we will not be tying a knot. We need to secure this so that we can work through it without it slipping too much. So go ahead and go all the way around. Once you get back to where your working thread and your tail thread meet, then go ahead and go through a couple more pearls just so that you're away from that joint and it secures it a little bit more so that it doesn't slip off your thread as you do your next stitch. Now, let's get a little bit closer. We're going to be doing prismatic right angle weave. Basically, don't let that scare you. It's very simple because we're only going to do one unit. We're going to do it with 5 beads. That's what makes it prismatic and not cubic, because we're using more than 4 beads. You can also use less than 4 beads, like 3, and do prismatic. But at this point, we are going to pick up 3 beads onto our needle. We have our 4th bead here. We're coming out of one of our base beads. Now we're going to go into the opposite side of that base bead and pull these 3 beads down into a unit of right angle weave, like so. Just kind of tighten your working thread and your tail thread. And then, so now you have a unit here and a unit here. We're working out of the same unit we started with. So the one with your tail is the one that you're always going to go back into. And you're always going to go back into that particular unit of beads as you make the units outside of it. So we're coming out of this one now after making this unit. We're going to go into the very next bottom bead in our base unit, the one with our tail. And we're going to pull our thread through that. And then we're going to pick up 2 of our pearls because we are now going to share 2 already on our unit. So we'll share this one and this one. It's laying linear here, so you've got your 2 beads. Just go through both of these beads. And then you'll end up back in your base unit bead. So pull this together and then go into your next base unit, the one with your tail, go into the next bead. Let me get you a little closer just so you can see what I'm doing very well. Pull your thread through that next base bead and then pick up 2 more pearls because we are going to use the 2 pearls on our unit already. We only need to pick up 2. There will be 4 in each right angle weave unit that we create. So we have this bead and this bead. The way I'm holding it, it's lying linear. So I'm just going to go through both of these beads like so and pull. It may start to cup a little bit, and that's okay. It won't really cup up into a round unit until we do our last unit. Now, we've done 3 of our units. We're going to go into the next base unit bead. So we're going to go into this one, right here. Pick up 2 pearls. If I can pick them up, we'll do that. These always have a little tiny bit of paint on the end, and you know, if I cleaned them, I wouldn't have that issue, but I am not that patient. So I have 2 beads here. They're lying linear. This is the bead from my unit that I just created. This is my original unit. So they're lying linear. Just go into both of them. That returns you back to your base bead. And pull. Pull your working thread, and it's starting to cup now. Now, this very last unit, you can see I have 1 more unit in my base, so I'm going to go into, or 1 more bead in my base, I'm going to go into it. The way I am holding it, let me get it here, you can see that this bead and the base unit I'm coming out of will form most of my next unit. So I'm going to go into the bead that's lying linear, the way I'm holding it, lying linear right here on the side that my working thread is coming out of. So I'm just going to pull this down. My tail is here. I'm just going to move it so it doesn't confuse you. I'm just going to go directly into that bead, closest to where I came out of my base bead, right here. Then I need to pick up a top bead. I only need to pick up 1 this time because I'm using 3 on my unit already. So I'm picking up 1, and then I'm going to go straight across into this side bead over here, and then back into my base bead. And if you'd like, you can go ahead and go through all three. They're lying linear. Just go through all three and pull. This will now cup your unit up. So grab your working thread, put your piece between your fingers, and just pull. And now you have this little funny looking like cup. Now we're coming out of this side bead here, so we're going to go up into the top beads, because you can see my top beads are just lying on top here and they're not connected. We're going to connect all 5 of these top beads. So just go into each one and connect them. You can do more than one at a time if you can manage it. If not, just do one at a time, doesn't matter. Go all the way around, pull them very tight. I'm going to go through a couple more. This is my last one that will connect it all together. And then I'm going to go through probably one more time just to make sure the top is nice and secure on my unit. Now that feels pretty good, so I'm good there. You can go through it as many times as you want, those top beads. This is what you should have, just like a little tube of beads, like so. Now, we're going to do some right angle weave on top. But this time, we are going to do it just through the top beads, and we're going to use 8/0 and 11/0. So, what we're going to do is we're coming out of this top bead right here. We're going to pick up an 8/0, an 11/0, and an 8/0. And the pearl we're coming out of will be our 4th bead. So we've got 3 beads on our needle. We're coming out of this side of this bead right here. This is now going to be our base unit on the top here. We're going to go into the opposite side of that bead we're coming out of. And we're going to pull these down over the top of that bead. Then, just like we did in our original base unit, this now being our base unit, we're going to go into the next bead in the base unit right here. Now we will be sharing this 8/0 and this pearl in our next stitch. So we only need to pick up 2 beads. We will pick up an 8/0 and we will pick up an 11/0, like so. And we will come around and go through the top of this 8/0 seed bead in our previous unit. So we're sharing that 8/0, we're going to come through, and then we're going to go back down into our original bead we started in, right there. Pull through. Turn your unit and go into your next bottom pearl here, your next base unit pearl. Pick up an 8/0 and an 11/0. You're now going to be sharing this 8/0 and this pearl together. So we're going to go through the top of this 8/0, pull it through, and then back down into the pearl we started in for this stitch. And pull. Go into the next pearl, pull. Make sure you have good tension on this, no slack in your thread whatsoever. So after each stitch, give it a nice little tug. Then pick up an 8/0 and an 11/0. This is our 4th stitch. The last one will be here, and we'll connect it together just like we did with our pearls. So you just need an 8/0 and an 11/0. Go up through the 8/0 in the previous stitch, through the top of it, back down into the bead that you started in. Pull these beads into a nice unit, like so. Now, you can see this is my last pearl I have to go into. You can see my 8/0 on both sides ready to make my last unit. So all I need to do is add my 11/0 to this unit. So I will just sew through these 3 beads, connecting them together with an 11/0, and I will have my last unit. So first we go into the pearl on the bottom, just as we've been doing. Then we go up through the side bead here. Then we pick up an 11/0. And we go over to the other 8/0 through the top of it, like so, and back down into the original bead we started in for this last stitch. So back into that purl and pull. Make sure it's nice and solid, and then go up into the 8/0 right next to where you're coming out of your purl. Go up into that 8/0. Now we have to connect these 11/0 seed beads together because they are not connected. So we're going to go into the top 11/0. We're coming out of the 8/0. We're going to go into these 11/0s now. And we're going to sew through all of these 11/0 seed beads on the top here. You can go through a couple at a time, doesn't matter, just as long as you get them all. And pull them tight. And in these beads, you want to go ahead and go around one more time through all of them to really secure them nice and tight, because this is the end of your bead and you want to make sure that it's nice and secure. So go through them all, pulling them tight, having absolutely no slack. Now, this is what you should have. Now, I'm coming out of this 11/0 seed bead right here. I'm going to go directly down into the very next 8/0 that I'm closest to. And then I'm going to sew through this side bead here. I have to sew down to the bottom so that I can close the bottom of the unit too. So we're going to follow our thread path. Go through this bead. Then we're going to go through this bead here, this side bead or up and down bead, whatever you want to call it, the middle bead, and then we're going to go through one of the top beads right here. And I'm going to cut off my tail because it's just going to keep getting in the way. So I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm just going to cut it down. Now we are going to connect these beads on this side. This will be our base unit beads, exactly how we connected these beads, so that we have the end of our beaded bead all closed in and ready for our crystal embellishments. So we're going to use this bead that we're coming out of as our base unit bead. We're going to pick up an 8/0, an 11/0, and an 8/0 and go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. Pull, and then go into the next purl. Now we only need an 8/0 and an 11/0, like so. And you're going to go through the top of the 8/0 in the previous unit and then back into your base purl. Then you're going to go into the next base purl and turn. Pick up an 8/0 and an 11/0. Go into the top of the 8/0 in the previous unit, the one you just created. And pull your beads through. Then go into the next base unit purl. This will be the 4th stitch. Pick up an 8/0 and an 11/0, like so, and go into the top of the previous 8/0, like so, and pull. Now, as you can see, we have one purl left. Go through that purl, and we will be sharing both of these 8/0s in our last unit. All we need to do is add our 4th bead, which will be the 11/0. So we have to sew up to where the 11/0 will be added. So we're coming out of the purl, we go up into the 8/0. Then we pick up an 11/0 and we go back into the previous unit here. Go into that side bead and pull the 11/0 down. Go back into your base purl. Now your unit is created. However, we need to get to the top so that we can put all of these 11/0 seed beads together. So we're coming out of this purl, we're going to go up into the 8/0 right next to where the thread is coming out of the purl. Then we're going to go to the top and we're going to sew all of the 11 O's together, and we're going to do that twice to secure it very well. So just sew through all of your 11 O's just like we did on the other side of the bead, and pull. Make sure they're nice and secure. And once you have done that, squish it down like this. I just kind of give it a squeeze down a little bit because I'm going to now kind of squish it down. So you'll see what I mean. So we're coming out of this 11-0 right here. We're going to go into the 8-0 closest to where the thread is coming out of that 11-0. So go into the 8-0. Doesn't matter which 11-0 you're coming out of, just make sure that you go into the next 8-0 on the side your thread is coming out of. Then we're going to pick up a 4mm bicone crystal. We're coming straight down out of this 8-0 seed bead. We're going to go directly into the pearl right in the middle of our unit, right underneath that 8-0. So go into that one and pull your bead down tight. Now you're going to have a little bit of thread showing until you finish the stitch and move over to the next one, and that's okay. But as you do this, you want to make sure that you pull it well so you don't have a bunch of thread. Pick up another 4mm bicone crystal, go up into the 8-0 seed bead on the other side directly above the pearl you're coming out of, and pull. Now squeeze it together a little bit on either side, put your thumb and your finger on either side and pull that thread to make sure it squishes your entire unit together. I'm going to see if I can get just a tad closer. And now we're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead here. We need to go into the 11-0 right next to where you're coming out of that 8-0 seed bead and pull your thread through. For some reason this needle is really not going through my beads well. I may have to change needles. Okay. So now I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to go down into this 8-0 right here and pull my thread. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing we just did with these crystals. And as we pull these ones through and sew over to do our next ones, the first ones will tighten up nicely for us. So pick up a 4mm bicone crystal. You're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead, go directly into the pearl right underneath that 8-0 seed bead and pull a crystal down into the space between the 8-0 and the pearl. And then on the other side, you're coming out here, you're going to go directly up into this 8-0. And we're just going to vertically place those beads in there and just kind of squeeze your unit together as you do that. Now we're going to go over into this 11-0. Hopefully my needle will go through it. Pull through. And then go down through the next 8-0, right next to the 11-0 you're coming out of. Pick up a bicone crystal, go directly into the pearl underneath the bicone crystal, and pull. Now let's back off just a little bit and pick up a 4mm bicone crystal, go up into the 8-0 right above the pearl you're coming out of. So we'll just continue working all the way around the bead. Now that we're in the 8-0, we'll go into the 11-0 between the 8-0s, pull, go down into the next 8-0. Make sure you get your thread nice and tight so you don't have any thread showing where your crystals meet your pearls. And then grab another crystal, go directly into the next pearl. Pull tight, make sure you're pulling the thread straight through, not against the edges of the bead so that you don't break your thread as you pull. And then go up into the next 8-0. Go through the next 11-0 seed bead between the 8-0s, and this is our last embellishment. So go through this 8-0 seed bead here, pick up a bicone crystal, if I can get one, and go into the pearl right underneath the 8/0 you're coming out of, right there. And pull. Then pick up another bicone crystal and go into the next 8/0 seed bead right here. Pull tight. Now you have finished your beaded bead, but we need to knot it or tie it off. So I'm going to go into the next 11/0 seed bead just to secure that last stitch. And then right here on the top between the 11/0s, let me get you close so you can see, there's a little thread bridge right between those 11/0s. I'm going to pull my thread underneath between the two 11/0s, make a loop, go through that loop and pull a knot down and pull it tight, making sure I haven't lost any tension on any of my embellishments. And then I will sew down into the 8/0 I'm closest to and the crystal beneath it. And then I'll go into the pearl if I can. Should be pretty tight, but you should be able to work your way through them. Get to the other side of my unit. I'll go up into the 8/0 seed bead here, and again I'm going to tie a little knot between this 8/0 and this 11/0 right on my thread bridge. Make sure you stay between the two beads that you're aiming for. And then I'm going to sew into the next 11/0 and into the next 8/0. Pull my thread through nice and tight. I'm going to cut off my thread. I'll leave a tiny bit of a tag. Oh, those are my dull scissors. Get my other ones. I've tried sharpening those scissors and they don't sharpen, and I don't know why I keep them on my desk, just to confuse me, I guess, so I try to use them. Then I'm going to just roll this down with a little heat, like so. And that, my friends, is your beaded bead. We are going to go ahead and continue making these beaded beads, tying them off and setting them aside. 9 components. Now this is going to depend upon the length of bracelet that you want to make. I am shooting for about a 7.5, perhaps 8-inch bracelet, which is a little bit big for me normally. However, because these are so wide, they're going to take up extra room on the wrist. So you're going to need a longer bracelet than you would normally make, at least 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer, just to make sure that you have movement on your wrist. So I am shooting for about an 8-inch bracelet. So I have made 9, and you can adjust yours according to how long of a bracelet you would like, either more or less units. Now I have cut about an 11-inch piece of wire. You can make it 11, 12 inches long, doesn't matter, just as long as you have plenty of room to work with so you're not struggling on the ends trying to put your clasp on. You're going to grab one of your crimp beads and put it on the wire, like so. And then you're going to pick up a pearl, one of your 6mm pearls, and slide that on the wire. Then slide your clasp on the wire, like so. And then bring your end of your wire down into the pearl and the crimp bead. So just bring it around in a circle and bring it through both beads, like so. Let me get you closer so you can see what I'm doing. Now my wire has slid through both beads. I'm going to just ensure that there's a little wire sticking out, and then I am going to pull on the longer wire until I get the size loop that I want around my clasp. Now you want to make sure you have movement in your clasp. You don't want your loop huge because that's going to add extra length too, but you want to make sure that you have some nice movement. If it's real tight against the pearl, you're not going to be able to clasp your bracelet very well because it will be stiff. Now my wire here is coming out of my crimp bead. You can see how both of my wires are coming out parallel. I am going to then take my crimp pliers and I'm going to put the flat side against the pearl here, put the crimp bead into the second divot, which is the one closest to the handles on my crimp pliers, and I'm going to crimp. And then I'm going to turn it sideways, and I am going to crimp again in the first hole on my crimp pliers. I'm going to squeeze that again just to make sure that it's nice and crimped. Now you can see I have a nice crimp there. Now I am going to begin stringing pearls and my units. You can see how the 11-0 seed beads on both sides make a nice hole for you to string right through. However, you have to watch that your wire doesn't slip on the other side of the 11-0s or through the pearls or anything like that. You need to guide it carefully through your components. Now, I'm going to start with another pearl. I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to slide it down over the little bit of tail I have left and butt it up against my crimp bead, and then I will begin stringing my components. Now you can, if you'd like, put 8-0 seed bead on and then your component, then an 8-0 seed bead, and then your next pearl. That will also help you add a little bit of length. I'm going to see if I can get enough length just doing pearls and components. Now this is what I was talking about. Make sure as you slide through that it goes through the middle of your 11-0 seed beads and falls down nice and neat over your wire like so. And then I'm just going to alternate my pearls and my components until I get all of my components on. And I will end with a pearl, and then we will be back. Okay, so I have strung all my components and all of my pearls, ended with a pearl just like I did on this side, and then I will pick up another crimp bead. I will slide it on to my bracelet, and then another pearl. Some of these pearls holes are not big enough to slide my wire through twice, so just find one that works well, or use your little bead reamer and make sure you have a big enough hole to slide through your wire twice. Then slide on the end of your clasp and go through the pearl and the crimp bead. Just kind of poke it through there. And this side is always a little harder to do, so just have some patience. You can use your flat nose pliers, push it through until you get it all the way through that pearl and through the crimp bead. And as you can see, I've got it through now. I'm going to grab my pliers, and I'm going to pull this down. I would like to go through this pearl too, see if I can. I don't know if I can. I'm going to try, but I think I've got my wire so looped now that I might not be able to. No, I did. So if you can slide through both the pearls, that is what you want to do, just to make sure you have a little extra tail through the bead so that it doesn't slide out. And then just keep pulling on it until you have it tightly against the other beads. You want a little bit of movement between them, so you don't want it extremely tight. You want a little bit of movement. You also want to make sure you have movement for your clasping up here, so make sure you leave a decent sized loop up there. And then when you feel like you have it to where it's not too tight, it will move, but it's not too loose, you have extra wire over here showing, then you want to go ahead and grab your crimp pliers. And it's a little bit harder now because you have two beads there, but go ahead and go back into the second divot and crimp, and then go into the first one and crimp. And that's what that should look like. And then let's go ahead and cut off our extra wire here and get it real close with my end cutters and cut it. There's no real graceful way to do that. You just have to do it the best you can. At least that's how it works for me. And then I like to kind of mess with it, make sure that I have enough room for everything to move around. My wire flexes a little, so I just mess with it until it has a little bit of flexibility in it. And see if my clasping will go through okay. Yep, it goes through nicely. So that is what that looks like. I will go ahead and put it on my wrist and show you what it looks like, and we'll measure it, see exactly how long it turned out to be. It might be a little bit long. I don't know yet. I will find out. If I can get coordinated, I'll put this on my wrist. It's actually not bad because, like I said, these units take up a whole lot of room on the wrist because they are really big in diameter. So you want to make sure that you have enough movement on your wrist. And this actually is just about right. It's not falling down into my palm. It's working out fine. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this and see how long it is so that you will know for reference. I'm going to go halfway through my clasp there. It is exactly 8 inches long. So my wrist being 6.5 inches and an 8-inch bracelet is just right. You just want to make sure that you leave that much room for your particular size also. Give yourself at least 1.5 inches of room extra for your clasping. Okay? So there you have it. That's what that looks like. And we'll be back to make a set of earrings. Okay, so we're going to make the earrings look like this. Now, you do not have to put the pearl on either side of the earring. You can just put 8 seed beads, whatever you'd like. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just doing it this way because I think it's going to match a little bit better, and I think it turned out pretty. See, it looks pretty good with the bracelet. And this would make a really pretty necklace too. You just have to make more units, and of course you can always just make enough to go in the front of your necklace and put a chain towards the back too if you don't want to make a million components, or you can put more pearls in between them, doesn't matter. But you can do the exact same thing to make a necklace. I just ran out of these pearls, so I'm not going to be able to make a necklace. But now I've got my unit for my earring, and I've got a 2-inch head pin. So if your head pins aren't as long as mine, this is a nice long 2-inch. If yours aren't as long as mine, you may only be able to put 1 pearl on, or like I said, use 8 seed beads on either side, but you need to put something on your head pin to stop the beaded bead from falling off the end, because it will fall off the end. So you have to put something on your head pin first. I'm going to use a pearl on either side, so I'm just going to slide a pearl on, and then I'm going to slide my beaded bead on, and then another pearl on. If I can find the hole in this one. Some of these holes just aren't drilled very well. There we go. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to place it right at the top of the pearl, right up against it, holding the rest of the beads tight. And I'm just a little ways down on my pliers, and I'm going to bend my wire over the top of the plier. Then I'm going to turn my hand and put my plier right into the area where I bent the wire. Then I'm going to bring the wire over the top of the plier. And then I'm going to turn my hand just slightly as I do that so that I can bring this around in a loop, like so. Now I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. I'm going to switch hands here. And then you can use your round nose or another pair, a flat nose. And I'm going to bring this wire straight up parallel with my pliers, and then I'm going to start to turn it around the wire and just move down. This is a really thick head pin, so I have to kind of be brutal with it. I'm going to turn until it's nice and tight, and I've got like 3 turns. Straighten it out since I just mangled it. And cut this excess off here, and then I'm going to tuck this little excess piece down so that it's not poking out. like so. Straighten it all up. Then I'm going to grab my ear wire. I'm going to open the ear wire. So I'm just going to open it, twist it open like from side to side like this. Don't pull the circle open. And then slide your loop that you just made on your earring on. Close the ear wire nice and tight. And you have a pretty little set of earrings. And you have a nice little bracelet. And that's what that looks like. And like I said, this would make a gorgeous necklace, and I'm probably going to make one. I might have to make it in another color because my little my little pearls, these small ones, I ran out of that color. I have a bunch of other colors, but this is my favorite color, so I always use them all up first. And so I don't have enough to make a necklace at this point, but I'm going to order some more and make a necklace because I think this is an exceptionally pretty set. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.